Everybody, hello and welcome to the class. I thought I would change the structure a little of the screen. Here is the social media if you want to connect on Instagram, Twitter and YouTube. There are 3 channels and the content is very similar. And for the class today is on Zoom, and if you want to participate with speaking, you can join the Zoom meeting, and this is the ID and the code. Every morning I put the direct link in the section for events. So if you are looking for the direct link, you can find it in the section for the event of my class. And it's very easy to connect and join to the Zoom meeting, and hopefully a few of you can definitely join, and it would be better for me because I think the meeting continues active when there are more people in the class. So nothing really new. Yesterday I was in the city centre, so I finished work at maybe 6 o'clock. We had the class yesterday for the advanced level and it was very good. We focused on some exercises in particular for the advanced, and after I went to Dublin, and there's a little more activity at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, a few more people in the city going to the shops, going home, and nice atmosphere, a better atmosphere. And then last night I watched some football. There was a game with Liverpool and Chelsea. So nothing much new. Today we will continue with the same structure of the classes more or less. And also later today we have another class at 4 o'clock in Dublin. We have a webinar specifically for business English. So I will show you the information and the news. So today at 4 o'clock we have a specific class for business English. I know a lot of you are focusing on particular areas, so maybe business English is very important for you. So the idea today, we will analyze some vocabulary specific to business. We will also listen to a video of an interview in relation to the context of business to try to catch the conversation and to catch the information. And also we can have some conversation and people can participate speaking, because probably there will be a better opportunity for you to speak. So there's lots of ideas, lots of topics in this type of class, maybe CV preparation, interview preparation. They're topics that we can discuss in this class. If you want to connect, if you want to register for the class, contact me and you can select on the event on Facebook to join. And there's a small fee of €2.90, which is very low fee. So it's possible by PayPal, by Zoom, and that's for today at 4 o'clock, and hopefully it will be very good. We also have different classes, so I'm going to show you here. I have organised more classes for the afternoons. So on Monday specifically we will concentrate on grammar at 4 o'clock in Dublin. There will be a class specifically for grammar. On Tuesday there is a specific class for football English and sports related English, vocabulary, interviews, listening and speaking specifically for football. And that's my plan for Tuesday. On Wednesday we will dedicate a class at 4 o'clock specifically for the IELTS exams, and I know a lot of people are preparing for the IELTS exams. Some of you yes, but some of you no. So if you want to, for example, if you have a friend who is preparing for the exam, you can maybe mention this to your friend, and I will try to find more people also for this class. Yesterday, on Thursday, we had the advanced class. So the Cambridge exam and the Escuela Oficial de Idiomas in Spain are very popular exams for the advanced level. And yesterday we analysed a little, and the plan is to continue every week with the same webinar, and everybody is welcome. You are welcome to join when you want, but the focus will be advanced material, and that is the idea of the webinars. The same with the IELTS. We will continue every Wednesday with a webinar in relation to the IELTS, and you are welcome to join whenever you want. You can join this week, you can come, you don't have to go every week, it's optional, but it's a very good structure and it's very easy to access. Okay, and again today will be business. On Friday, business at 4 o'clock, and tomorrow at 2 p.m. in Ireland we will focus specifically on the first certificate. So the first certificate in English is very popular from the Cambridge exam. So tomorrow at 2 o'clock we will focus on content from the level B2. There will be exercises, and it's possible puedo hablar más en español si estás de España, porque es más fácil para ti. Entonces mañana es posible. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock we will continue with the first certificate type of webinar. Okay, so the time is 4 o'clock Dublin, 5 o'clock Madrid, 1 o'clock Sao Paulo, 11 p.m. in Jakarta and Vietnam and Thailand, 11 a.m. in Lima in Peru, and 6 p.m. in Bucharest, just to give you an idea. And every class, there's a small fee of €2.90, which is very, very worthwhile and very good value. So if you want to register for the class, just contact me and select on the event on Facebook, and we can organize everything before the class. Okay. So that's the idea for next week, and I'll just show you the agenda for today. So the plan and the agenda is very similar from other classes. So a small introduction document. We will continue with phrasal verbs and idioms, but also we have an article in relation to television programs that are possible to watch on the BBC website. So it's an article from the BBC website about television programs at the moment in March to watch. Okay. So speaking again, if you want to participate, it's a very good opportunity for you to participate, and I recommend that you connect with Zoom. So again, here is the details on the bottom left to connect to the meeting, and also on social media we have Instagram, Twitter and YouTube, and I put some obviously pictures on Instagram because it's more suitable for pictures, and Twitter is maybe the same content as Facebook, and YouTube is more or less the same content as the Facebook page. So I hope we have no problem with the connection with the internet. There's always the possibility. I hope we've no problem with technology, with the laptop, and I hope there's no big distraction. We have a lot of people working at home. We have 7 including a baby at home at the moment. Everybody's working and studying and taking care of the baby and the dog, so you know already the situation. So hopefully there's no big distraction, but we will continue anyway. Okay, good. So that is the beginning and that's the introduction. So now I will share the screen and I will show you the grammar content for this morning, because every day it's important just to discuss a little the structure of the class, because you are probably familiar with this structure, but some people are new, and also some people watch the class recorded. So for this reason, it's a good opportunity to explain my method and my way to teach. Okay, so for me there are 3 areas that are very important. The first area is the use of English. The second area you can see in yellow are the tenses, and the third area is just other grammar topics at the bottom. Everything is in yellow. So grammar, the different tenses and the use of English. And again, you're probably very familiar, a lot of you. So we have, this area is the most important in my opinion, the use of English, because we have different accents in English, and in Ireland of course we have a different accent, possibly a very particular and strong accent. In England you have Manchester, you have Liverpool, you have London. In Scotland, Glasgow. So the accents are very, very strong and very particular, and this is extremely difficult for you when you are trying to understand people. So for this reason, it's maybe the most important part to understand people. And there's no easy answer. You just have to be exposed to different people. You have to be exposed to different accents, and you have to try to catch everything. It's very, very hard. And for me, there are a few pronunciation issues that are very particular for me and very particular for Ireland. For example, the U is possibly very, very strong in Dublin. For example, Dublin, butter, bus, must. So it's possible this pronunciation exists in Dublin and for me. And also the TH should be this, that, these, those, Thursday. But sometimes for me and sometimes in Dublin, it's possible like a D. This, that, these. So be careful and just be conscious of the pronunciation for me, and also the OU, for example, out. Sometimes it's very strong, house, mouse, out. So just pay attention, and I'm sure you will probably identify before me the problems with the pronunciation, because when you learn English you also study the phonetics. Okay, phrasal verbs are a very important area, and again we use phrasal verbs every moment, every situation, informal, formal, professional, social. We have phrasal verbs and we use them all the time. The concept of the phrasal verb is a verb with a preposition. It's possible a literal significance. For example, look up is literal, but the second significance of look up is completely different. The second significance is to search for information. So I will look up your details means I will check your details, I will find your details. So that's one example of a phrasal verb. Basically the structure is a verb plus a preposition, and the significance is literal, and then the second significance is possibly completely different. So we have thousands and thousands and thousands of phrasal verbs. They are very unique to English, and for this reason they're so important for you to learn and to understand perfectly, because we use them all the time, very quickly, very naturally, and very, very fluently, and we don't realize it's very hard for you to catch the significance. Okay, so I have a list of phrasal verbs, and every class I try to progress a little with each section and try to teach a few phrasal verbs every day. And during the articles there exists a lot of phrasal verbs. So every article you probably read, every book, every magazine, I am totally sure there will be phrasal verbs in every part of English. So they're a massive, massive part of English, and for this reason they are at the top of the list for me in terms of importance. Similarly with idioms, idioms are expressions, and we use expressions very often, very frequently, with family, with friends, and again they are a big part of English. They exist in movies, in series, and they're very funny. They are sometimes entertaining, they are sometimes a metaphor, and you just have to be aware of the possibility of an expression in English. So every language I think has expressions, and English is the same, but again we have thousands and thousands of idioms, and they're very important to be conscious of and to be aware of. Okay, subtitles are available in the Facebook live meeting. I think you probably already can see there are captions and subtitles available. The majority are correct. There are some errors in the captions, but it's probably better to use the captions and the subtitles during the class. They are available for me. So another big part of use of English is conversation. So when you learn English, yes, it's necessary to study the grammar, to study the tenses. That's very, very important from the book. You need to practice your listening, the radio, the television, speaking with people, listening. You need to practice your writing, which is a completely different skill, and also you need to practice your speaking. So there are 4 or 5 completely different areas, very, very different areas, and people have very different levels. Some people are tremendous at writing, some people are excellent at speaking, some people are very bad at grammar. So there's a big mix with everybody, but to really improve you should be working in every area of English. Okay, and speaking and conversation is one big area. During the class it's possible again to participate. If you want to connect in Zoom, it's possible to participate and join the meeting, and we can practice some pronunciation, especially at the end of the class. It's possible to continue after the class to practice some speaking. Okay, and pronunciation of course is very important. We have some particular issues in relation to pronunciation, and if you are a Spanish speaker, here is a particular list that is very special for Spanish speakers to English. For example, yellow, the LL is very important because LL in Spain has a different sound. So yellow, jacket, the J, jacket, SH, cash, the G, register, the J again, a jet engine is G, fragile, the G, J, jealousy, yearly, and then chicken and kitchen. So the last two is very interesting because for some reason Spanish speakers frequently confuse the chicken and the kitchen, and they're completely different. So obviously they look very similar, but that's just a peculiarity in relation to translation. So the chicken is the little animal, and the kitchen is obviously the place where you cook the food. So it's very funny and it's very entertaining when the confusion is made. Okay. The next section are tenses. So in English we have different tenses when we speak, and most languages, every language has different structures and different tenses when you speak. So when you speak, are you speaking in the present? Do you speak in the past, in the future, in the continuous, in the simple, or in the perfect? So at the beginning of the class, it's just important to explain a few concepts in relation to the tenses. Okay, the first one is the simple. We have the present simple, which is one action you do regularly in the present, and you can see here an example of the simple. The present simple is I like. Okay, and the past simple, we have the verb to like. Regular, normally in the past simple, regular is ed, so I liked. The verb to look, I looked, that's the regular structure. And the future simple is I will look or I am going to look. There are two possibilities for the future: I will look or I am going to look. And that's just one example for regular verb look. But the difficulty is we have a lot of irregular verbs in the past. A lot of irregular verbs. And that is problematic, and you just need to try and study and learn and be conscious and be aware of the different irregular verbs. We have a lot. For example, eat in the present, ate in the past. Go in the present, went in the past. Extremely difficult, and you just have to learn them and to be aware of them. The next idea is the continuous. So the structure of the present continuous, when you speak about the action that's continuously happening in the present, the structure is the subject. Remember, subject, I, you, he, she, we, they, you, they. That's the subject. The extra verb to be, and the gerund of the verb. The gerund is the ing. So the present continuous, I am eating. Past continuous, I was eating. Future continuous, I will be eating. So again, similar concepts. The continuous period of the activity in the future, the continuous period of the activity in the past, and the continuous period of the activity in the present is the present continuous, future continuous, past continuous, and the simple. Okay. The next one is the perfect. So the idea of the present perfect and the past perfect is very important. The present perfect is the period in time that started in the past. It's finished, but it's still related and still relevant to the present. And the construction is subject, I, you, he, she, extra verb have, auxiliary, so extra verb have, and the participle of the verb. So the participle is the tercera columna. So this is the present perfect. I have eaten my breakfast. So it's finished, but it is related and relevant to now, because at the moment I am not hungry. Okay, so that's the present perfect. The past perfect is the period of time in the past, usually before another action in the past simple. And the structure is almost the same as the present, except the verb to have changes to had. So I had eaten my breakfast when my friend contacted me. So usually the period is before another action in the past simple. Okay, that's the concept of the past perfect and the present perfect. It is possible in the future perfect, I will have eaten my dinner before my friend will come to visit. So it's the same concept with two activities, but you need to be conscious and to be aware it's a little more advanced, the future perfect. Great, so they are the majority of the important tenses that you need to be totally sure about, because during the class I identify different topics and different tenses, and you need to try and be familiar. And when you read yourself, when you are reading a book, when you read a magazine, you should try to catch the tense and try to analyze the different tenses. There are three other technical vocabulary terms I want to explain. The infinitive. So the infinitive is the base or the foundation of the verb, and usually in English the infinitive is to go, to eat, to have, to drink, to talk, to sleep. That is the infinitive. or the base or the foundation of the verb, and that's a very important concept. The next idea is the conditional, and basically the conditional is a big area. There are a lot of rules in the book in relation to the theory for the conditional, and it is difficult to learn all the rules, but in reality it's a little less strict in my opinion, especially in conversation. It's related to if. So it's the different time and the different tense connected to if. For example, if it rains today, I will not go to the city centre. If I have to clean my room, I will not be happy. So if is the big connection with the conditional. And finally, you can see the difference between the active and the passive. So the active is generally the subject, verb, object. That's the structure of the active. And the passive structure, you change the position. So the object goes first, the subject is at the end. You introduce an extra auxiliary verb to be plus the participle of the original verb, and that's the structure of the passive, which changes from the active. One example, you can see the man is the subject, this is the active, the verb is kicked in the past simple, and the ball is the object. Okay, so the passive, you change the position. The ball, it's necessary to introduce a verb to be. This is just a rule, it's necessary to introduce, and it's the past simple because the original verb is the past simple. Also, you need the participle of the original verb. So the original verb is kick, past simple is kicked, and the participle is kicked. Okay, so this is the reason, and that's the structure of the passive. By is very typical with the passive as well, and then the subject originally changes to the object position. Okay, we also have reflexive verbs. To wash myself, to shower myself. Reflexive verbs are important, and the gerund is the ing form of the verb: eating, drinking, sleeping. Okay, grammar. So we have other grammar topics and other grammar terms and technical terms, because during the class I mention a lot: adjective, noun, substantive, adverb, article, modal verb, prepositions, subject pronoun, object pronoun, possessive adjective, possessive pronoun. So there are a lot of technical terms, and seriously, at the beginning it's important that you are familiar with the terms, because maybe your level is 0, and in this case you definitely need to learn the terms. But if you are an expert, you still need to remember, and maybe you are an expert at speaking but not so good with grammar, and this is just a quick introduction to the concepts for you to be conscious of. Okay, so here we start with a noun, and basically a noun in Spanish is substantivo. A noun in English is a person, a place, or a thing, and so many things are nouns. For example, jacket, sheet, table, chair, book. Substantivo, noun, noun, noun. Every noun you need an article. In English we have 2 articles. We have the definite article, which is the book, the car, the house, and we have the indefinite article, which is a book, a house, a car. Okay, so a book is in general, but the book is specific. A house in general, the house in specific. But I think other languages have articles also. For example, French, la, or una, I think, and Spanish is very similar as well. So you have masculine and feminine in your language for the article, but in English we don't have masculine and feminine. That's the big difference for the article. The noun, the article, and it's possible to introduce an adjective. The function of the adjective is to describe the noun. So for example, the house, the big house. So the position of the adjective is very important, and the position is before the noun. In other languages the position is different, but generally the position of the adjective in English is before the noun. Okay, and that's very important. We also have the concept of countable and uncountable. So countable and uncountable is an important concept, particularly in relation to how much and how many. So you say how much in relation to things you cannot count. For example, water. It's impossible to count water. 1 water, 2 waters, it's not possible to count. because we count 1 bottle of water, 1 glass of water, 1 litre of water. But water is uncountable, air uncountable, chocolate uncountable, money uncountable. So for this reason, this category, it's necessary to say how much money, how much air, how much water. And for nouns that are possible to count, for example, hand, jacket, house, car, for example, 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 houses, they are countable. And in that situation, for the question, we say how many cars, how many books, how many people. So that's the difference between how much and how many. It's related to the concept of countable noun and uncountable noun. Very important, okay? The adverb, the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. So you have a verb to run, to drink, to eat, and the adverb describes the action. To drink quickly, to run slowly, to meet quickly again. But here the typical ending, the typical suffix of the word in the adverb is the ly. In Espanol it's mente, lentamente, suavemente. In English it's ly, quickly, slowly, softly. Okay, that is important. And again, the function is to describe the verb, to complement the verb, and that's the function of the adverb. Modal verbs. So people who attend the class always are familiar with the modal verbs, and they are very important. For example, can is ability and permission. So can I go to the shop? Can I enter the room? Can I have the phone? It's a question for permission, and it's also for ability. I can play the guitar. I can drink a lot of water. It's my ability. Okay, that's for can. Could, may, and might are for possibilities. So I could go to the shop. It's a possibility. I may go to the shop. I might go to the shop. The 3 are practically the same. The difference is may and might are a little more formal and a little more polite. That's perhaps the only difference between could, may, and might. Shall is formal, and it's more for professional and formal situations, I suppose, but at the same time it's very important to understand it and to recognize it's related to the question. Shall we have dinner? Shall we go to the shop? Shall we contact our friend? The question is, will we contact our friend? Will we have coffee? So it's very important, particularly for a question. The next verb, should, is related to recommendation and advice. My recommendation for you, you should visit Dublin. You should visit this shop. You should go to the cinema. It's my recommendation and my advice. The same verb has the same significance as ought to. The pronunciation is difficult because the G is silent, but the verb is you ought to go to the cinema. You ought to take the vaccine. You ought to go to the doctor. It's a recommendation and it's advice. So very important. Must is obligation. You have no choice. You must collect the children. You must go to work. You must speak with your friend. It's obligation and it's something you have to. In Espanol, tener que is the same significance as have to in English. You have to go to the shop. You have to collect the children. The big rule and the common error with the modal verbs, the big rule is very important because after the modal verb we have another verb in the infinitive, and remember the infinitive is to go, to eat, to have. So the next verb is the infinitive, but the specific rule for the modal is it's necessary to eliminate to. And this is a common confusion, and it's a common mistake when people learn English. It's understandable, everybody will understand you, but everybody will recognize that that's the little mistake. So it's a very common issue, and it's something you should try to remember because it's really frequent. The next section are prepositions. So prepositions are very, very small words, and they're a big part of English. Basically, the preposition is related to direction, it's related to movement in English, and it's related to position. Okay, you can see here just some of the list of prepositions, but I think in reality we have maybe 150 prepositions at least, and they are a fundamental part of every sentence, and they're so tricky sometimes, but they are so important. Okay, and for example, position On the floor, over the floor, under the floor, beside the floor, in front of the floor, and then we have at. This at for position, in for location. So we have a lot of prepositions, and during the class I will try to identify and help you with prepositions in particular, because they are so important, number one, but number two, they are a big part of phrasal verbs. You remember the introduction at the beginning, the concept of the phrasal verb. So the verb plus the preposition, the literal significance, but also a second completely different significance, and the preposition is strongly part of the phrasal verb concept. But usually the preposition is related to emotion. For example, up is positive, down is negative, down is sad, down is destruction, and up is positive, up is happy, or up is creation. So you need to remember the movement and the direction and the emotion connected with the prepositions. This is a big secret to understand the phrasal verbs. Okay. The next area are the pronouns and the possessive adjective. So possessive adjective and possessive pronoun. Okay, so the difference between my hat, your hat, his hat, her hat, but the hat is mine, the hat is yours, the hat is his, or the hat is hers. This is a big area, and you need to be very, very sure, because similar to the rule with the modal, this is a very obvious error. People will understand you probably, but there is an obvious error in the construction. So you need to be very, very clear and very aware of the difference between my hat, your hat, his hat, her hat, the hat is mine, the hat is yours, the hat is his. Or there's another section, the object pronoun, give the hat to me, give the hat to you, give the hat to him, give the hat to her. So it's difficult, particularly in relation to he, she, his, hers, him, her. Very important and tricky. So I have sympathy for you, because it's difficult. And in Latin, in Spanish languages, in Portuguese, I think you only have su, which is easier. So for masculine, feminine, it's su, but in English it's his, hers, him, her. It's difficult for sure. Okay, you need to be aware of the difference between this, that, these, and those. So every day I explain the importance. This, that, these, and those. So the pronunciation phonetically should be this, that, these, and those. But for me, and in Dublin, it's possible the sound of a D. So it's possible to hear in Ireland and in Dublin this, that, these, those. But phonetically it should be this, that, these, and those. Okay? So it's just a little example of English in reality. You need to be clear with the difference between another, other, the other, and the others. And again, every day I explain the same, and I would like somebody to participate and to explain the difference, because you are so familiar with me speaking about this topic that I'm sure you will probably be able to explain it perfectly. So basically, well, the reason I talk about it all the time is because it's an extremely common error. I have heard many, many, many times people speaking English make this error. And that's the reason I focus on this a lot, because honestly, it's a very common confusion and people make the mistake all the time. So that's the reason. So basically, another is typically before the noun in the singular. So another day, another week, another person, another year. Normally it's singular, 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 but for plural we use other people, other weeks, other days, and that's the big difference. And again, it's a frequent confusion, and you need to be totally sure if you want to improve, and you need to be aware of the difference. Also, the difference between the other and the others. So if you have a choice of two things and you select the second, so you do not want this coffee, you want the other coffee. So when you have a choice or a selection of two things, well, that's four. But if you have a selection of two things and you do not want the first, you want the other. So that's important. But with the S, it's possible the group of people. So did you travel to Ireland by yourself? Did you travel to Ireland with us? Did you travel to Ireland with them? Or did you travel to Ireland with the others, the group? Okay, so that's important as well. And I think that's sufficient just for the explanation for today. But also, of course, writing is very important. Exam preparation is important. And you can see I have created specific classes to continue. So every week we will have specific groups of people and classes dedicated to the advanced exam, the first certificate, and the IELTS. And you are definitely welcome to join and to participate. The class is open for everybody to attend when you want. And every week we will do little exercises, so it's possible for you to attend whenever you want. It will be more like a presentation or a lecture, but you will be able to participate by asking questions as well. So you're completely welcome to join. That's the specific classes dedicated for the exams, okay? And the Escuela Oficial de Idiomas in Español is important exam as well, which is included. Finally, the area of the suffix and the prefix is an important area to be conscious of and to be aware. When you are studying English, you should be familiar and you should use the analysis of the suffix and the prefix to help you learn the language. Okay, so basically the suffix is the piece at the end of the word which identifies if the word is verb, if the word is adjective, if the word is adverb, if the word is substantivo or noun. So the ending of the word is fundamental. And again, from listening to a lot of people speak English, this is a big area. People confuse frequently the substantive with the noun, with the adjective. And I'm the same. When I speak in Spanish, I confuse the substantivo y adjetivo mucho. Okay? A lot. So that is a good introduction for the grammar. Again, if you want to join the meeting, I hope you can participate, because I am afraid that the meeting might cancel after inactivity. So last week the meeting cancelled after 40 minutes because it was inactive. Not because of the free, because I pay Zoom, but I think because it's inactive. So maybe I will try to type or something just to keep the meeting active, just to be sure. So I'll just say test. And maybe this will allow me to say the meeting is active. Okay, so that's the code if you want to join, the ID and the passcode. And now we have the option. We can look at maybe the list of idioms, we can look at the list of phrasal verbs, or we can look at the article. So I have a feeling that to look at the article is probably better, because in the article we can identify phrasal verbs, we can identify prepositions, we can identify idioms, we can identify everything in an article. And for this reason, probably to look at the real article is more beneficial for everybody. So I will begin with the article, and it's just a topic from the BBC, the culture section in relation to television, and it's 9 TV shows to watch in March. So first I will read a few paragraphs for pronunciation, and I will try to pronounce everything very perfectly and very good, but of course people have different accents and different pronunciations, so I will just show you my Dublin accent when I read. But after the reading I will analyze the vocabulary. Okay, so here we can see, obviously it's like some actor, I don't know who it is, but I will begin. So from Line of Duty to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Eddie Mullan picks the programme worth, that's very important, worth seeing this month. Okay, so sorry, I'll just move this a little, because I want to make sure everybody sees the screen and sees the vocabulary. Cool. Okay, so now we go to the first paragraph, and here's a picture of an actress. I don't know who she is. It's from The Line of Duty, that's the movie. And the first part of the story is here. So the name of the program is Line of Duty, and the text is: the gaffer and his AC-12 team are back chasing down crooked cops in the long-awaited 6th series of the BBC police thriller from Bodyguard writer Jed Mercurio, as the hunt for the mysterious double-dealing officer with codename H continues. This new 7-episode run sees the anti-corruption team return with a new recruit, Chloe Bishop, okay, Shalom Brune Franklin, working alongside Superintendent Ted Hastings, Kate Fleming, Vicky McClure, Adrian Dunbar, and Steve Arnott, Martin Compston. Okay, so first, gaffer. Maybe you remember the class from last week. So we had a class last week and I looked at one book in particular, and the name of the book was The Gaffer. So a gaffer in English has the significance of a manager or a boss. So if you are the gaffer, you are a manager or you are a boss. Okay, so I'm just going to use my notes here, and I see we have somebody connected, which is great. So basically the gaffer is a manager and the gaffer is a boss. A little informal, but it's very common in conversation. So you are the gaffer has the significance you are the manager, you are the boss. Also informal, the gaff, very informal in conversation, has the same significance as house. This is my gaff, this is your gaff. Very, very informal, but it is typical in conversation. Your gaff is the significance of your house. We have another word, a gaff, has the significance of an error or a mistake. So if you make a gaff, you make an error or you make a mistake. So when you're speaking and you say something silly, you say something stupid, this is a gaff. Okay, and that's very, very common as well, an error. Okay, so good vocabulary and very important at the start, but in this sentence it's the manager and his team are back chasing down. Okay, so the verb to chase is very important, and I think in Spanish it's maybe perseguir. So for example, the cat and the mouse, the cat chases the mouse. Very important. If you are in business, you can chase business. So it's a metaphor in other situations. And here it's the phrasal verb down. So to chase down crooked cops, difficult vocabulary. So here, to chase down, we also have a verb to track down, and probably this is the reason for down. So track down is to identify, because the verb to track is to follow, and you have a lot of information, a big pile, a big mountain of information, and the criminal is at the bottom. So you need to track the information down to find the person. It's possible criminal, but it's possible just in general. If the person is lost, if the person is missing, you need to track down the person. So down is logical in that sense, and chase down is maybe the same, because you start at the top of the road or the top of the place and you chase down the building. So it's just a little emphasis. The next word is very important. Adjective, crooked. Okay, so it's an adjective, and the significance is in relation to a line. So for example, the painting in your house, the painting is on the wall and it's very straight. So the opposite vocabulary is straight. Straight is very this action, and if the picture is crooked, it's not straight. Another vocabulary is uneven. So the picture is uneven or slanted. Okay, so we have a lot of vocabulary for this. Slanted, so particularly for the picture is slanted or the picture is uneven, but crooked is possible as well. But crooked is specific for a criminal. So the police should be very straight, the politician should be very clear, very straight, but if they are crooked, they are maybe a little cheating, they're robbing, or they're doing something bad. Corrupt. So corrupt is a synonym of crooked. Okay, but it is typical as well for the body or the face. So for example, I know a person who lives very close to me and he has a crooked nose. Okay, so a crooked nose is when your nose is not straight. So my nose, thankfully at the moment, is straight, but if you break your nose is crooked. So it's literal, but it also is a metaphor for a corrupt person. Okay, and a cop is the same as a policeman or a policewoman is a cop. In America, I think a cop is more typical in the United States. But you remember yesterday we had a different verb which looks very similar to cop. Actually, yeah, sorry, it's correct. To cop on is typical, but yesterday we said to cope with. So this is completely different, completely different. To cope with has a significance to deal with, to manage, to tolerate. How are you coping with the weather? How are you coping with the problem? But a cop is a policeman, and the verb to cop on is probably informal, but it's extremely common in Ireland, and the significance is like wake up, get into reality, get real. You know these expressions, get real. So for example, one typical example, I say to my friends, oh, I want to visit China, I want to travel the world, and my friend says, oh, it's very expensive, it's not possible, cop on. So cop on means wake up, get to reality, it's unrealistic. Extremely common in conversation in Ireland, and of course in England, I'm sure, because I know we have people in London watching today from Brazil, and so I'm sure in England it's the same. So to cop on is like wake up, get real, stop dreaming, okay? And it's extremely common in English, but here it's the significance of a policeman, a cop. So there's a different significance, and you have to be careful. In the long awaited, so here we have the hyphen, and remember yesterday, when you have the hyphen, it's possible to connect two different words completely to make one word. So long awaited, you can see the word is connected to wait, which is esperar in Espanol or similar in Portuguese. So basically, long awaited means you are waiting a long time. Okay, so your holiday, your long awaited holiday, because at the moment it's impossible to travel, so your holiday is a long awaited adjective, a long awaited holiday. Okay, also we have the vocabulary overdue. So if it's long awaited, we can say overdue, okay, because due is very important. Due is like expected. The bus is due in 10 minutes. The bus is expected in 10 minutes. You are due a holiday, so you are, after working 1 month, you deserve, merecer, but you are due a holiday. So you are entitled, difficult vocabulary, entitled to a holiday, or you are due a holiday. So long awaited is possible overdue, because you're awaiting a long time. Just important vocabulary to be aware. This is very interesting as well, and it's a common error because a series. Everybody is watching Netflix at the moment. Everybody is familiar with series. So the problem, plural is no problem. I am watching 2 series. I am watching 3 series. But in English, singular, it continues with the S. It's irregular. So one series always is the S. And this is the confusion. So the plural is exactly the same as the singular. And many people say one series, I'm watching a series with no S. But this is the error, and this is the mistake. So always in English, one series, even though, incluso aunque, even though it is one. It's irregular, but it's a common mistake. And I'll just write it here so you're familiar. So it's 1 series and 3 series. So it's exactly the same. So it's irregular in the singular, and it's important to remember because we use it all the time, and in this case it's 1 series, and for this reason it's irregular. Thriller, okay, a police thriller. So the verb to thrill is similar with the significance to excite. So the movie thrills me, so the movie excites me. The news thrills me, the news excites me. But it's more typical, the adjective, I am thrilled, means I am delighted, I am really excited, I'm really happy. That's very typical, I am thrilled, okay? But the movie is a thriller, okay? So the difference between the adjective for the movie and the adjective for your sensation or your feeling. You remember last week the difference between bored, boring, excited, exciting, very important difference between the two, and thrilled and thrilling or thriller is the same as well. I don't know if you understand my explanation, but basically there's a big difference between bored and boring. The ED is your sensation for the person, ED. So my sensation, my feeling, I am bored, but boring is for the object or for the movie. The movie is boring, the television is boring, but I am bored. It's possible another person is boring. If you say another person is boring, that means you are bored because this person is very not funny, very quiet, very sleepy. So it's boring situation. So just be careful, the difference between bored and boring. It's the same with excited and exciting. So there's a big difference. And here, thrilled and thrilling or thriller is possible as well. So thriller is typical with the movie. So it's a genre. And again, that word is very important. In relation to music, we say a genre. It's a French word originally, but in relation to music, we say a genre. And people make the mistake, they say a gender. So in English, gender is only typical for man, woman. So masculinity, femininity is gender. But in relation to music, in relation to movies, we normally say genre. So it's an original French word, and I'm just practicing my French, but originally it's French, but we use it in English, and the significance is the type, or género in Espanol, but in English it's genre. Just the pronunciation is important. Of music, of movies. Okay, cool. A bodyguard. So maybe you understand the pronunciation or the significance of a bodyguard. The pronunciation is very important. Guard in English. To guard the room, to guard the building, to protect. So the bodyguard is the person who protects you. So there's a movie, the famous movie with Whitney Houston, I think. Maybe it's Whitney Houston. She's the celebrity and she has the security. The security is the bodyguard. Okay. So important word, to guard is to protect. The hunt for the mysterious double dealing. So hunt is very important. And double dealing is very important. So here's the substantivo, the noun in English, the hunt. The verb is to hunt, cazar in Espanol. So again, the man or the woman goes to the forest, bosque, they go to the forest, and you have the gun and you try to hunt the animal. So you try to kill and chase the animal. So hunting is illegal in some places, and other places it's legal. So to hunt is this action. It's possible metaphorically for a job. You are hunting a job. You are on the job hunt. And that means you're looking for a job. House hunting is very typical as well. As an activity, you are house hunting. That means you're looking or searching for a house. And here, it's the substantive, the chase or the hunt for the mysterious double dealing adjective. And officer is the substantivo. So double dealing has the significance related to the previous word we saw, and the previous word was crooked. So you remember crooked has a very similar significance of double dealing. So the verb is to deal, and deal is typical in poker or cards. The dealer is the person who distributes the cards, that's the dealer, but the verb to deal is typical in business. I give you my animal and you give me your car. So it's a trade, exchange, barter. So we have some vocabulary that's very important. To exchange, to trade, or to barter. And to deal is almost the same. Okay, it's like to do business. But here, if you are double dealing officer, the significance, you are doing business with your colleagues, you're communicating with your colleagues, but at the same time you're communicating with the enemy. So that's double dealing. Okay, it's possible a double agent, which is the same significance. Okay, and yesterday we saw the vocabulary a spy or a mole. Okay, so a spy, a mole, a double dealer, double dealing agent, or a double agent is possible as well. I think it's more, it's easier, a double agent. Okay, so important vocabulary. Code name, no problem. The code is the secret, so the code name H continues. Again, we have the hyphen. So 7 episode originally is 2 different words, but with the hyphen, it's possible to connect and make one adjective. And run is obviously the verb to run, but it's possible a noun. So a run is like a period, because the series started 2 years ago, and it run continuously with no stop. So that's the significance of a run. I think in Spanish it might be un rancha, typical in sport, because the team have a very good run at the moment. Victory, 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 victory. It's a very good run. Okay. So it's important in that context, important vocabulary. Anti-corruption, again, hyphen. So that word is the hyphen, and its significance here is one word. Team return with a new recruit. Very important vocabulary. So the verb is to recruit. You are probably familiar with recruitment. So recruitment is the activity to find the people. The verb to recruit is the same. It's the action to find the people. Like human resources. You work in HR, which is human resources, recursos humanos, and you are recruiting different people. So the person is a recruiter. So very important family of words. So a recruiter is the person who works in HR, in human resources. Okay, HR, human resources. And the pronunciation is very important as well, resources. Because in Espanol it's recursos, so be careful. In English it's resources. Okay, so very important pronunciation. So a recruiter, recruitment, to recruit. In relation to this vocabulary, we have another verb. We say to headhunt. That's very, very famous. To headhunt, or a head hunter. And it means that you hunt, which is cazar. So you hunt for the animal, you hunt for the food, but you hunt for the talent in the job, in the professional situation. You are searching for the worker for your company. So you are searching for the head, like the intelligence, which is a metaphor, I suppose. So the head hunt is to find the skilled and talented people specifically for the job. And it's typical in the passive. Active, company headhunted me. And the passive, I was headhunted by the company. It's very typical in the passive. Okay, so important vocabulary. So here the verb is to recruit, and here it's the person. A recruit. So there's a difference between a recruiter and a recruit. Okay, so the recruit is the person who enters the job. The worker is a recruit, and the recruiter is the employer, the company. And again, you need to be clear with the difference, employer and employee. So a very important difference, but very small. The employer is the company, and the employee is the worker. So there's a big, big difference between the two. And here it's exactly the same. A recruit and the recruiter. And in this situation, I think it's in the series from the telly, the recruit is, I think, the officer in the series. Okay, alongside has the same significance, beside. So you are working alongside your friend. The significance is you are working beside your friend or working with your friend. Alongside is a preposition, and it's possible the river. You are walking alongside the river. You are driving alongside the road. So it's a preposition and important, but it's the same significance as with or beside. Superintendent is just a type of position in the police. The superintendent is a position, a senior position in the police. And I think that's a good paragraph. So you can see one paragraph, only one very, very small paragraph, but we have a lot of very important vocabulary and a lot of very interesting grammar topics. And I think that's really, really nice. So just to review, that was the first paragraph. And maybe we can continue a little with the second one. So I will read the second paragraph and I will then identify the important vocabulary, okay? Meanwhile, so that's very important as well. Meanwhile, the new case for the unit, this series, will centre on Kelly MacDonald as Detective Chief Inspector. You can see here, Joanne Davidson, a senior investigating officer on an unsolved murder case. Davidson finds that her suspicious conduct is enough to bring her to attention of AC12. Premieres 21st of March on BBC One. Okay, so some very important vocabulary. The first vocabulary is premiere, which is related to estrenar in Espanol. So the movie premiere is the movie estrenar. So it's possible to premiere a movie, which means to show the movie for the first time. Okay, that's the significance here. It's the verb. It's a little advanced, but it's very important. Meanwhile has the same significance as while. So meanwhile and while are the same, but at the beginning of the sentence it's more important to have meanwhile. Okay, and mientras in Espanol is the difference. So meanwhile and while have the same significance, but while is more important and more common at the beginning. That's the difference. Okay, so here it's the same significance as while. Again, series, so it's singular. Remember this, that, these, those, so it's singular and it's irregular because it's a series. That's a perfect example. Will center on. So this is a verb, it's a phrasal verb, and the significance is to focus on. So in the class, we will center on phrasal verbs. It's a little advanced expression, but more typical is we will focus on. Okay, so here the series will be based on, similar to centered on, focused on, based on. And just a simple example, but here you can see the spelling. In the United Kingdom, I think it's RE. So in the United Kingdom it's RE, and in the United States it's center. Okay, so the spelling is a little different. And yesterday I had a confusion, I think, with one word yesterday between the United States and the United Kingdom. But here I think that's the case. So the center is the UK. As is difficult for position, your job, your profession. So you work as a doctor, you work as a teacher. So here it's as detective chief investigator. It's the position, and typically for vocation and position it's necessary as. Okay, again, normally the person is ER, for example painter, and normally the suffix for the person is ER, but we have a lot of irregular suffixes for the person, and in this case it's OR. So an inspector is the person, and we also have director, which is possible, and yesterday we saw a few examples. So that's just important to identify the suffix and the prefix. Here's another example, officer. So it's ER, in this case it's the person. Here we have preposition on. So you're working on is connected with a case. So if you're a detective, you're working on this case. If you're studying English, you're working on your English. You're trying to improve, okay? And if you're working on the case, you're working and you're trying to improve the case and trying to solve the case. That's the significance of the preposition here. Here we have the article. You remember every noun, you need the article, but there is one exception. When the noun begins with a vowel, A, E, I, O, U, generally the word that begins with a vowel, we need the article with AM. And the reason it's unsolved is because it's the vowel, okay? And you can see the prefix is un, and the verb is to solve, so the significance is negative. And here it's the adjective ED. So the verb is to solve with the E, and the adjective is solved, and the negative is un, and together it's the negative adjective, okay? Suspicious, important pronunciation. So suspicious, the difference between the adjective and the noun. Suspicious is the adjective, suspicion is the substantive or the noun, okay? So just the important detail. Suspicious and suspicion. So you can see my spelling is very difficult with that word. Here we go. So suspicion and underline I will remove. So the first one is the adjective and the second is the noun, okay? And important detail, and also here is the possession. This is called the possessive adjective. My conduct, so the substantiva or the noun is conduct. My conduct, your conduct, his conduct, her conduct. So it's possessive adjective. Is enough is sufficient, so the position of enough is after the verb, and the significance is sufficiente, okay, is enough. The position of enough is important in English. It's before the noun. I have enough time, I have enough food. Very important, because the confusion happens a lot in Spanish to English in particular. So the position of enough is before the noun. You have enough food, you have enough clothes, you have enough money, and it's after the adjective. So you are you happy enough in Ireland? Are you happy enough with the work? That's the key. So noun, enough is before, and adjective, enough is after, okay? And here it's connected to the verb in this case. So again, a good expression, to bring her to the attention of, a very good combination. To bring her to, movement preposition, the attention of. Very good sentence. Very, very good sentence. And I think that's a good paragraph. Okay, and typical for the station or the channel, we say on BBC One, on YouTube, because for the television we say on, because originally the television is a screen. plantilla, and for a surface we normally say on. Okay, good. So that's sufficient work for today. I think now is a good opportunity to practice some speaking if you want. Again, the code is here to participate with the class if you wish, because now is a very good moment to practice and to participate. Maybe 2, 3, 4 people if you want to join. We can practice some speaking. I think we have one person in the group. So if you want to participate, Andrea, you can just maybe raise your hand with Zoom or send a message and we can connect. And everybody is welcome to join the class. We have 2 options. We can finish the class now and continue with the conversation, or we can continue the conversation during the class and everybody can learn a little. That's the 2 options. So maybe this is the moment. I will wait for everybody to connect, and also I want to say that everything is free. I'm really happy to teach in the mornings. This is a good opportunity for me, and especially during the pandemic, people are working from home. So for me, it's a very good opportunity. If you want to tell your friend who is studying English that they might be interested to learn in the morning, that's good for me, of course. Everything is free. But if you want to make a little donation or a little contribution to me, that would be a big support and a big help. We have Bizum is possible. It's possible and common and popular in Spain. Revolut is also possible. If you want to donate maybe €1 or €2, it would be a big help for me. The bank details are there, or it's possible by PayPal. Everything is free, but your support and your contribution will definitely help me, and especially it will permit me and allow me to continue working in this way, particularly with the free classes in the morning. So if you want to support and donate me, that would be a massive help for me, and the details are here. I will put the details in the comment section also. Okay, so I don't think we have anybody more joining the class, so maybe it's a good opportunity to finish, and I'll continue with the Zoom. Unless you want to speak now, you can raise your hand or you can comment. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody. Remember, today we have another class at 4 o'clock in Dublin. It's a business English class at 4 o'clock, and we will focus specifically on vocabulary in relation to business, and we will look at a video in relation to speaking of business, and it's at 4 o'clock in Dublin. And if you want to join, contact me and I will give you the code, and there's a small fee or a small payment of €2.90, so very cheap, and hopefully there will be possibility to have conversations during the class as well in relation to business. Okay, super. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, hopefully. Take care, and thank you so much.